It's not just radio, it's Rockland World Radio. RocklandWorldRadio.com.
Welcome. I'm Tony Ziegler, and I'm your host today. I would like to introduce today's guest, Mr. Jim Evers. Jim, before we start, I'd like to say it's truly an honor to have you here being my guest on my show on RocklandWorldRadio.com. To begin with, why not tell us a little about yourself, Jim?
First of all, Tony, may I ask you to change my pronunciation to Evers?
Didn't I say Evers?
You said Evers.
Oh, it's a habit. I'm
and
sorry.
And that's why.
It's a habit.
Well, and that's why I joke about Shorty Evers.
I know.
Okay, it's an honor for me to be here with you since we've known each other quite a long time. And
Yes.
I deeply respect and salute artists. So, yeah, me.
So I'll spell it, and you tell me if I spelled it right.
E-V-E-R-S. You want two, okay. Thank you.
No apostrophe, right? Okay.
I've had a very interesting career. Started out in my father's business right after high school, left the business after 5 years and went into teaching, public school teaching. And while I was also a public school teacher, I enjoyed a lot of writing, so I started a couple of newsletters. I got involved in a couple of small businesses. So I've had this multiple career of teaching, writing, entrepreneuring. And when I retired, I decided that I couldn't become a couch potato, wouldn't become a couch potato. So I kept my writing active. I kept my self busy doing a number of community projects. And if we can talk about anything, that's really what I like to talk about.
Well, I would love to hear about it. But what really interests me personally, but maybe not you, is your holiday every Monday.
Oh, well, years ago, there's a brilliant man whose writings are online, Seth Godin, who says, if you're passionate about something, create a holiday for it. And I have been passionate for years about appreciation. Having also become a sort of a lay instructor in neuroscience, I know that appreciation does wonders for the brain.
So certainly does.
This is sort of a selfish reason, as
not
well as
not selfish at all.
Well, but that inspired me to start Appreciation Monday on both Twitter and Facebook. I think it's been going about 15 years.
Wow.
And the concept really just came out of the awareness that Monday is the worst day of the week for most people who are employed because they have to go back to work.
That's true.
And I feel if you could be appreciative of your work and appreciative of those you work with, it makes Monday a lot easier.
Certainly does. Made my Mondays much easier when I started joining you at the restaurant. I think about 6 years ago.
Yeah, right. That's right. We started the appreciation group. Started about 5 years ago as an outgrowth of one of the courses I was teaching on neuroscience. And I said, gee, if there's anybody here would like to meet me on Mondays for Appreciation Monday morning breakfast, we would get together.
I actually miss it.
That's right.
I really miss it.
You were one of the first in the group, so that group actually, and let me just segue that in to one of my projects, and because that group met and became an aging in place group, meaning we are people who support each other, who are wanting to make the decision of where we want to live out our senior years, as opposed to being imposed and put into institutions.
You're a senior?
Yes, I am.
Oh, I thought you were my elder.
Well, I'm your elder. Either way, those terms never bother me. What would bother me most, and we have a really nice program going in our group, to sort of make people conscious of ageism.
Terrible thing, isn't it?
It's like sexism and racism and so forth. Ageism is when you start making jokes about seniors.
I know a few, but I'm not going to say them
Yeah,
here.
no, okay. It's okay for those of us who are, you know that some of the best jokes are told by people that are talking about themselves or their ethnic group or whatever. But the idea that at all ages, we sort of isolate. Think of how we have ageism about teenagers.
Yes, we do.
There's a lot of bias in there. Okay, so we try to bring that into a consciousness level, and make people sensitive.
You're doing wonderful work.
Yeah.
In fact, this is a joke I say. 'Cause I worked in nursing homes and things for 20-something years. I say, you know you're old when you wear sweatpants, a belt, and suspenders.
Ah, that's good. Little redundancy there.
Well, yeah, because men usually switch, the rear to the front, me included.
That's cute. But that's an ongoing project that excites me. As a matter of fact, here in Rockland County, we were the second group that was an aging in place group. The first one was started by a former partner of mine, Alice Gerard, in Palisades.
Wonderful woman, I know her
Yeah,
also.
and they call themselves the Palisagers. We call ourselves, because we're a part of the national movement of village communities, so we call ourselves the Rockland County Village Community.
And what kind of relationship did you have with Alice prior to this?
Alice and I were school teachers in a public school system back in the 60s, when things were kind of getting messy in the society. And one day the music teacher, Norman Barron, came up to me and said, have you ever read George Leonard's book, Education in Ecstasy? Ecstasy being the emotion, not the ecstasy.
Talking about bias.
But I said, yes, I'm reading it right now. He said, well, we're going to have a little dinner party at Alice's house. Would you like and your wife come along? So I was there. It was Alice Gerard. It was my wife and me and Norman Barron and his wife Joyce. And in that conversation, discussing George Leonard's book about making education a joyful experience as well as a meaningful experience, somebody said, I don't remember who, we should start our own school. And lo and behold, we pushed that a little further, and we did actually start our own school called the Rockland Project School, where kids learned through doing, through projects. So that was my relationship with Alice. I left it to go into a energy conservation business 10 years after it started. Alice stayed with it. Norman and Joyce left to go run a couple of other schools later. But Alice stayed with it for all 20 years that it existed.
It's an amazing school.
Wonderful
too.
woman. She's done wonders. And she's written histories of the Palisades community. And but anyway.
And she's a potter also.
And she's a potter. She's an artist. My other project is one that I am very moved that it's still going. It's now in its 10th year, and that was in honor of my wife, who passed away from a very troubling disease called multiple system atrophy.
Oof.
It's really on the Parkinson's spectrum, but it's a terminal form of a neurological disease. And too late for her, I discovered that you can help people with Parkinson's or any movement challenge, MS, autism, not the autism, arthritis, any of these movement struggles that we get as we grow older and so on. You help them with what Oliver Sacks, the great physician, said through music and movement.
Correct.
And in Brooklyn, the Mark Morris Dance Studio was approached by the Parkinson's Society in Brooklyn. Can you do something for Parkinson's? And so they developed a Dance for Parkinson's program. It's in its 20th year.
Wow. I think I went to a couple of them when you first started.
Excellent. So we now have a dance program like that here in Rockland County. The first dance therapist named it Movement for Joy, and that's exactly our motive.
It's still in
Yes.
existence.
We started meeting first here in Nyack, but now we're meeting in the conference room of Meals on Wheels in Nanuet.
So it's near where the other group meets.
Yeah, to encourage seniors who come into the Meals on Wheels. And that program is actually right now our dance therapist just left us. We're looking for a dance therapist, so if anybody knows a good dance therapist,
no.
we will help get the person trained in dance for movement challenges.
We'll talk.
All right, that's nice. Two other projects. All these projects that I have been actively doing since my wife passed away, I have put under the umbrella of an organization we now call Grassroots Community Service Projects.
Wow.
And if people want to know more about it, just simply go to Grassroots Projects, all one word, plural on both, grassrootsprojects.org. And you can find all of our programs. The other one that I started with an incredible art teacher over in Clarkson High School North, Nancy Diamond.
Not familiar with
Well, we started a program for special needs kids working in art collaboration with the Arts Honor Society at the high school.
Wow.
And the agreement was that the mainstream kids were not supposed to lead and run the program. They were to collaborate. And that became a very exciting. Nancy put together an incredible program.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and that lasted about 5 years until she got injured and was not, I think, injured, I don't recall, but something with her shoulder. But a lot of new activities may have spun off of that.
I'm sure.
There's a lot of good services now for special needs children in our county.
It wasn't like when you were a teacher and I was a student anymore.
Thank you. Yeah, those were challenging days, and those were the years when we started our own school. Was the years that you were in the middle school era.
No, I was in
high school. That's right.
I went from 7 to 12.
But anybody who's listening, there is a simple way to take charge of your physical anatomy, your mental anatomy, and your spirit. And we built it around a concept called CAPS, C-A-P-S. Okay? The C means constantly keep your brain challenged. Cognitive challenges. Do much more than crossword puzzles.
Yeah.
Do much more than just try to learn something new every day.
I'm working on my punctuation. And that's helping.
Excellent. That's what the C stands for. The A stands for an attitude of positiveness. This is something I want to do. The P stands for be physically active, which we are with the dance and the movement. Or the best exercise, if you need an exercise, the best exercise is to turn some music on and make believe you're conducting it. The conducting of music.
So
Conductors, we now know professionally, conductors outlive everybody because they're physically moving all the time.
Right. Not just sitting there.
And the S stands for being socially involved. keep a social connection to other people.
Like I said, you're an inspiration and honor to have you here.
I added 2 more letters to it, if I may.
Okay, go
And
for it, man.
That's an N and another S. The
N.
N is nutrition.
Ah,
It's funny because I talked with a gerontologist today, and she said, keep active, keep involved, and don't fall.
so true. So true.
Here she tells me her mother, who still lives in China, is 100 years old and still active. So it works. Now let me segue to, if you want to hear more? Oh, the final S is for sleep. Get enough sleep.
Yeah.
And if you don't sleep, if you wake up in the middle of the night, don't stay in bed and grouse about it. Get up and start reading a good book. It'll put you back to sleep.
Were you my doctor and told me all this at one time? Because this is what I do every day.
Good. However, I'm into a whole new project. As you know, I teach a few courses up at the Learning Collaborative in New City.
I didn't know that.
Oh, well, I've been with them about 5 years, and my current course, my current interest, I was teaching the neuroscience course, but my current interest is one that has been with me ever since I was a teacher, and that
Since 1900?
yes, 1961, and that is creative problem solving. I just absolutely, you see the word creativity, there are thousands of articles on creativity, but I focus it in on problem solving. And I don't know if we have enough time, but I can give you a very
I'm not sure. I'm not watching the clock. Are you?
No,
I guess you're not either.
but I can give you a very succinct approach.
Maybe we should ask the director to hold up one of his fingers.
We got, yeah, I'll give you countdowns.
Okay.
Thank you. In this age we are now living in, as you can see, it's getting more and more and more complex. As we progress, we complex.
For sure.
Okay? Great book that's out right now by
I'm sorry, Jim. I think our audience would agree with that, don't you think?
Yeah, I hope so. but this great book that
I mean the studio audience.
Oh, the studio audience, yes. I would encourage people to pick up a book called Elastic.
Excuse me?
Elastic.
Like rubber bands?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Excuse
Sorry.
me. You're freaking me out now.
Sorry about that. It's written by a theoretical physicist who has had 3 or 4 best-selling books on physics that has impressed lay people, and he also was co-author with the late Stephen Hawking on his last 2 books.
Wow.
So you're dealing with a brilliant man here. But he says in this era, we've got to think not just out of the box, we have to think beyond the normal logic of problem solving.
So you're saying something like this, that we're here, that's normal, and then it's getting more and more closed in, and we have to be more like this, elastic.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so I have a process that I taught in the corporate world when I was doing corporate training programs, and my current goal, and I'm working with a man that I'm going to have lunch with in another few days, to bring this to the school kids, to be able to think not just out of the, but to think in creative problem-solving ways. And here's the simple process.
Tell us, please.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have called it a process, because it's non-linear.
Right.
Processes imply linearity.
Correct.
And that defeats the purpose. So all 3 of these practices have to be constantly, consciously practiced. Okay, here they are. I call it 3D open thinking.
Wow.
3D open thinking. The secret word, of course, is the word open. The first D stands for discovery. You want to
write this
keep
down.
your mind open so you can make discoveries.
Did you read, what are the three letters again?
I haven't given all
No,
the
the
three.
words.
3D open thinking.
Okay, 3D open thinking.
Right.
Thank you.
And you need to be open to your values, open to other people's values, open to political issues that you don't agree with, and find out if you could see what their side of it. Being open. Okay. The more
I think you should run for president.
No, thank you. The second D is as soon as you feel you've got an idea that gives you excitement, gives you the juice, do something with it. And the best thing you can do is either make a 3D prototype, if it's going to be a product, or write something, or draw something, or make a storyboard, or do some
So
cartoons.
now it's your time to draw something.
But the second D stands for design. And design thinking is taking over big time in the corporate world. Okay? I've added the sort of metacognitive part of that
I
design,
don't understand that word.
thinking about thinking.
Oh, okay.
I added that to the discovery part, and I have a whole process for that. And the last D is after you've got it prototyped and you've worked it through its iterations, you want to then improve it to where you feel confident to put it out. If it's an essay, to bring it out to the public or bring it out to a reader, whatever. The last D is deliver. So you got the 3 Ds. Discover, design, deliver.
Wow.
That's the way you become elastic. The first step, though, is open. Not only are you open to your issues in your life for discovery, you're open to the process while you're designing, or when you're writing or whatever, doing cartoons, and you're open to the delivery part. And the best way to deliver is to let people know, and yourself particularly, that you're always in a beta phase. Wow. Okay?
Amazing.
So therein is, those are my pet projects.
You had some large dogs there.
No, they've bitten me a few times too. I like that. But
You don't need stitches or rabies shot or
no,
anything.
thank you, Tony. No, but I live with artists. You're an artist. I respect that. My daughter's an artist. My wife is an artist. But
Well, she's up in heaven still painting, waiting for you.
I'm hoping.
She is.
Yeah, thank you. But and she was also a poet, and so are you. So I have a nice affinity to creative. But here's the thing.
Uh-oh, there's a catch.
No, there's no catch. It's an awareness that we are all creative. Show me a little kid who isn't creative, and then watch how by 5th grade it's gone. Okay?
Yep.
So what's the magic word? The magic word that little kids have. They'll drive you crazy with it.
No.
Why?
Why?
Keep
Tony
it-
backwards, why not?
Right. Tony backwards, that's good. I like that. That's very elastic. But keep the curiosity alive.
So true.
I didn't bring it with me, but I carry my cell phone or a little pocket notebook. If an idea hits me anytime, get it down.
I tell people the same thing. If you just doodle, and that could become your masterpiece.
Oh, absolutely.
All the time.
When I was teaching in 8th grade in Hohokus, New Jersey, there was this one girl sitting in front
That's
of
where
my...
Santa Claus lives, isn't it?
Yes. She drew all the time. Doodle. And so her last name began with a D. Or maybe
Doodles.
I shouldn't say her name, but I called her
Mary Doodle.
3D, Trips.
Oh, wow.
Because I was hooked on 3D already before it even came. but her last name, Daily Doodles.
Oh my goodness, Daily Doodles.
What did she give me when she graduated? She knew I was a Beatles fan. A color charcoal drawing of the Beatles.
And that she did?
She did it.
Oh my goodness. Do you still have it?
I still have it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I love, let people be. There was one kid who couldn't sit still. He couldn't sit still. And I knew he was creative.
I can't imagine.
Right. I said to him, John, go to the back of the room. Hang out in the back of the room. I had my desk in the back instead of in front of the kids. I said, sit at my desk if you want. Walk around. Just get that energy moving in the right direction.
We need to clone you.
No, there are a lot of extremely creative teachers out there.
I know that.
And because of our school and all the other schools similar, there were a number of those schools in the late 60s. We started in 69.
You're talking about Ho-Ho-Hocus?
No.
You're talking about the project
school. The project
school,
school that Alice and Norman Joyce and I started. Because of those models, there are a lot of schools now that have open-minded thinking.
I'm trying to remember. Now, Gate Hill had a school.
Yeah, the Gate Hill kids, that school closed and the kids came over to us.
And I don't remember.
It was called Colleberg.
Yeah, but what was in England, I think it was.
Well, we were all modeled in part, they more than we were, with Summerhill.
Right. I have to write that down because I keep forgetting that.
We were more into the George Leonard style of learning through projects. A.S. Neal, being a psychologist as well as an educator, he believed that children should make their own curriculum.
At College A.
And yes, College A is where...
I went to College A.
Well, I taught there for a while too.
Before me.
Yeah, with Link Hansen. You remember Link Hansen?
Oh my goodness, I could tell you stories.
Okay, well, Link brought another teacher and I in to work with him when they first were enrolling in College A. But anyway, I encourage creativity, elasticity, flexibility. So, people who listened to our president last night talk about an issue that has been politicized. Can we flip over and try to understand where that's coming from? That's really elastic thinking.
That's true.
Instead of just creating the tension.
Right. He is president. We have to give him that.
Yeah, and he does have a following.
Yes, he certainly does.
So, there are supporters of, but do you? This maybe isn't a fair thing to bring up, but do you remember the O.J. Simpson trial? And
Who can forget it?
Johnny Cochran.
Yes.
He would take the whole defense team out of town, and they would all have to play the prosecutor's side of the argument, which is what smart defense lawyers do.
That's true.
So
That's true.
That's open thinking. That's keeping the mind. And look, remember, go back to CAPS. That's cognitive challenging. Does wonders. And the best thing that you can do for your brain.
For me, or just
anybody?
Okay, good.
Is try to learn something new, like a music instrument or a foreign language.
So you ready to play guitar right now?
I have my guitar sitting. I played it as a kid, very, very crudely, and I even have a keyboard. But I might do that.
So you can be in my band. I'm inviting you. We're going to have a special event here, and you could be the conductor.
Oh, that I would appreciate.
You will be the conductor. Okay. Thank you, Jim, for being a guest on my show. It was certainly a pleasure.
Thanks,
and you
Tony.
made me laugh, which is
That's
not
good.
hard to do. And I have a small token of appreciation. I have this little bag. And be careful, it could blow up on you.
Well, if I'm an elastic thinker, an open-minded thinker, I wouldn't be concerned about that. Shall I open it in front of the camera?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
There's two things in there. But one at a time.
One at a time. What do we have here?
The other side,
Oh, this is a piece of artwork.
it's a piece of sky for you. So you always have a blue sky with you.
Oh my goodness. Now that's elastic thinking. I
And-
like that.
And now there's something else
That's
in
very
there.
open thinking. Another piece of sky here.
No,
The rainbow.
more concrete.
More concrete. May I open this? Tear it apart?
It's only paper.
Oh, you want me to get going here?
Is a number 2 perfect pencil by Faber-Castell.
Wow, that goes back.
Now, he invented the number 2 pencil.
Tony, I grew up in the office supply business. That was my father's business.
Pencils?
No, the office supplies.
Office supply, so there you go.
We had all of these, all of these products. The high schools near us, the kids all came over and got their art supplies and their drafting supplies.
And you
Wow.
can keep the bag and reuse them.
Thank you very much.
And maybe write something
Thank
on
you.
them. The box too, it's all,
Thank you.
here's some clouds for you. Poofy clouds.
Oh,
With no water, no rain.
all right, so the blue sky has got a little cloudiness. That's open and flexible thinking.
And I would love for you to sign this little paper here, so we have your signature, so I can forge it on checks.
Oh, no problem at all.
Well, thank you,
Tony.
Jim.
It's an honor for me.
Thank you to our studio audience. Thank you to Richard Quinn for helping us with this, doing the whole thing, actually. And see you in TV land. And next week, we have another guest, and you'll see when you tune in. Thank you very much, and good night.
Good night.
It's not just radio, it's Rockland World Radio. RocklandWorldRadio.com.